Diles, hola, yo soy la que se la pasa llorando en los videos. Trae la tortilla. ¿Es una gata o una quesadilla? ¡Diles adiós!
Nightmares creep while you and me repeat this bittersweet heat.
Hi guys, let's start with the first exercise of the video. So far we know that we need to find the value of the variable that we have, which is x, and also we need to find the value of these two angles, which are named the angle AOV and the angle BOC. The other thing that we know is that these two are complementary. That means that these two add up to 90 degrees. So let's start by representing this situation with a simple equation. Okay, if I sum the value of the angle AOV with the value of the angle BOC, the number that I'm going to obtain is 90 degrees, right? So this is the thing, we don't have the actual values of the angles, but we have a way to find them. Instead of writing the number or the name of the angle, I'm going to use this tiny expression, which is the one that I'm going to use to find the actual value. So instead of angle AOV, I'm going to use 2x minus 20 degrees. And I'm going to use the expression that I'm going to use to find the value of the other angle, which is BOC. And that expression is x minus 10, and the sum of these two parts is equal to 90 degrees. Okay? The next part is very simple. You just have to simplify, isolate, and find the value of the x. Just in the same way that you do when you're solving this type of problems in your algebra class. I'm going to leave all the terms that include the x on the left side of the equation and all the terms that include the degrees on the right side. Okay, so let's do that. If you notice, I changed this term, which is negative 20 and negative 10, from this side of the equation to the other side of the equation, but something changed too. If you notice, we changed the sign, right? So be careful with that. This is a very common mistake. When my students work with algebra, they think that when they move one term from one side of the equation to the other side, they always need to change the sign, and that's not true. What we do when we move one term from one side of the equation to the other side of the equation is that we change the operation for its opposite. See, so in this case, yeah, 20 is negative on this side, but on the other side is a positive. But why? If you notice, in this case, the 20 and the 10, they are part of a subtraction. That means that when we move it from the left side to the right side, they're going to be part of an addition. That's why instead of having a negative numbers in here, we're going to have positives. Let's continue with the operation. 2x plus 1x is the same as 3x. 90 degrees plus 20 degrees plus 10 degrees is 120 degrees. Okay, so far so good, right? Okay, let's continue. We're almost there. This number 3 right here is multiplying the x, which means that when I move it to the other side of the equation, it's going to be part of a division, because division is the opposite of the multiplication. Instead of multiplying an x in this side, it's going to divide the 120 that I have on the other side of the equation, just like this. And the final total, x is going to be equal to 40 degrees. So this is not the final answer. We just know that x is equal to 40 degrees. It looks like a 400, sorry. We just know that this x is equal to 40 degrees, but we're still missing the value of these two angles. We're going to substitute this value into these two tiny expressions to find the actual value of the angles AOB and the angles BOC. Okay?
La huevo que pudiste. Serenini. Acá está el iPod. Y guacho, por ti.
Ay, regréseme a mi salón.
Eduardo Sáenz de Cabezón, ilumíname.
Sigamos. So right now we know that x is equal to 40 degrees and we're going to find the value of these two angles. The angle AOV is easily obtained by using the expression 2x minus 20 degrees. We know that x is equal to 40, so we're going to use that value in this part of the exercise. 2 times 40 degrees, don't forget the units. 2 times 40 degrees minus 20 degrees is the same as 2 times 40 is 80 degrees minus 20. The angle that we're looking for, the angle AOV, is equal to 60 degrees. To find the other angle, the angle BOC, we're going to use this other representation, x minus 10 degrees. Angle BOC is the same as the angle BOC, it's equal to the value of x, which is 40 degrees minus 10 degrees. This is equal to 30 degrees. Angle BOC is 30 degrees. But before you say, hey, we're finished, no. Let's analyze the result. So this is my answer. According to my calculations, these are my answers. But I need to prove that they are right. How am I going to do that? This is easily done by using this information. I know that the sum of these two angles is equal to 90 degrees because they are complementary. So the sum of 60 and 30 is the same as 90 degrees. So this means that, okay, my answer is correct. So yay, we're finished. Now you can do it. Ahora para el que sigue. Bien tarde, vale. Ahora sí son las 3 de la mañana y estoy grabando el video. Que ya es bien tarde, ya me quiero ir a dormir.
Back to you.
Let's continue with the second exercise, but first we're going to read the information for this problem. The angle AOB and the angle BOC are supplementary angles. If the first one is 34 degrees larger than the other, what is the measure of the two angles? The first thing that I'm going to do is change the representation of the angles. Why? Because I want to. For me, it's easier to work with x and y. You don't have to do this. You can use any other variable, or you can also use the name of the angles if you want to. That doesn't matter, as long as you know that in my case, in this exercise, the x represents the angle AOB and the y represents the angle BOC. The first thing that I know is that these two angles represented by x and y are supplementary, which means that they add up to 180. The second equation is a little bit more tricky, but you just really need to understand the text that is being given to us. That information is telling us that the first angle, which is x, is 34 degrees larger than the second one, which is represented by the y. Okay, so it's pretty easy to obtain the second equation for the system that we are going to use to find the answer of this problem. Now, before we apply any method to solve the system, we need to rearrange the second equation to leave on the left side only the terms that includes variables. Better, right? For this system, I'm going to use the elimination method. And that's because the y in the first equation is a positive one, and the y in the second equation is a negative one. Meaning that when we sum all the similar terms, these two are going to cancel each other out. X plus x is equal to 2x, y minus y. Here we're going to apply the
Adiós, Popó.
and we're going to have that the result of this is 0. And 180 plus 24 is 214. Okay? Now we're going to isolate the x. And x is equal to 214 divided by 2. You need to remember this 2 is multiplying the x. That means that when I move it to the other side of the equation, it's going to divide what we have on the right side. The result of this is 107 degrees. So the value of the first angle, the angle represented by x, the angle AOB is equal to 107 degrees. Let's continue with the exercise. We're almost there. We're almost finished. Yeah. To find the other value, the value of the y, we're going to use this 107 instead of x. You can pick any one of these two equations. I'm going to use the first one. X plus y is equal to 180. Instead of using the x, I'm going to use the actual value of that x, which is 107 degrees plus y is equal to 180 degrees. Y therefore is equal to 180 degrees minus 107 degrees. Do you remember that I just told you that when we move one term from one side to the other side, you're going to change the operation? This 107 here is being added to the y. So when we move this to the other side, instead of adding, it's going to be subtracting the number that I have here, which is 180. And last but not least, the value of the y. Y is equal to 73 degrees. And that is the value of the angle BOC. Okay, I'm missing something. I need to prove that these answers are correct. How? We know that these two are supplementary. If I sum 107 with 73, the result of that is 180. So yeah, they are supplementary. And the other condition is that x, which is 107 degrees, needs to be equal to y, which is 73 degrees, plus 34. 107 degrees is the same as 107 degrees. See, right here? So with this, we're proving that the second condition is also being fulfilled. So the answer, these two answers are correct. Yay!
Vamos a grabar nuestra sesión.
Let's continue with our next problem. Let's read the info before we start, okay? Angle A and angle B are complementary. One of them is 24 degrees more than 2 times the value of the other. Determine the measure of the smaller angle. First things first, we are going to change the name of the angle by variables. In this case, angle A is going to be X, angle B is going to be Y. Why? Just because it's easier for me. You don't have to do this. You can use the names of the angles to solve the system of equations. According to our information, we know that these two angles are complementary, which means that these two add up to 90 degrees. So my first equation is precisely this. X plus y is equal to 90 degrees. With this equation, I'm saying that these two angles are complementary. Now for the second part, we know that it's important to analyze the information that is being given to us, but you know what? it is also important to notice the information that the problem is not telling us. It is important to notice that the text is not telling us if A is larger or smaller than B. Okay, it is clearly stated that they're not equal because they are saying that there's a smaller angle, right? Therefore, I'm going to assume that the first angle that the problem is mentioning is the angle A. And it really doesn't affect the result because the answer for this exercise is which one is the smaller one. So it doesn't matter if we assume that the first angle in the problem is A or B. Now, the problem is clearly stating that one of the angles, in this case I'm going to assume that is the angle X, represented by the X. One of the angles, X, is 24 more degrees than 2 times the value of the other angle. If this angle is the first one, then that means that this other one needs to be the second. Okay? So that's why I have X is equal to times Y plus 24. I'm saying that the first angle is equal to 2 times the value of the second angle plus 24 degrees. Moving on. Now that I have my system of equations, I'm going to rearrange the second one to leave all the terms that have a variable on the left side of the equation and the number, this 24, on the right side. Ready? So for this problem, I'm going to apply again the elimination method because I have a single x in each one of the equations. So I just need to change the sign of one of the equations to apply this method. I'm going to choose the second equation and I'm going to multiply the second equation by this -1 to change the signs of each one of the terms of this equation. Remember that the purpose of changing the sign of this whole equation is to eliminate one of the variables that in this case is the x. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. If I sum the similar terms, we notice that these two are going to cancel each other out, or the adios popo theorem. And then y plus 2y is the same as 3y. 90 degrees minus 24 degrees is the same as 66 degrees. Now I need to pass this value. I need to change this value. I need to isolate the y. And I'm going to pass the 3. This 3 is multiplying the y. I'm going to move it to the other side of the equation by multiplying this 66. So y is equal to 66 degrees divided by 3. Y is equal to 22 degrees. So the angle represented with the letter y, which is the angle B, is equal to 22 degrees. Now that we have this angle, we can easily find the other one, but guess what? We don't need to. Why? Because we know that the sum of the angle A and the angle B is equal to 90 degrees, which means that I need to have another value that sum to this 22 is going to be equal to 90 degrees. And which number is that? Well, it's 68 degrees, right? And 68 degrees is larger than 22, which means that the smaller angle is 22 degrees. So this is my answer. But we're going to prove that this answer is actually correct. So I'm going to find the value of the angle A, and I'm going to use the second equation, this one, because the x is actually isolated in this one. So x, which is the angle A, is equal to 2 times the value of y. The value of y is 22 degrees plus 24 degrees. X is equal to 2 times 22, well, that's 44 degrees plus 24 degrees, x is equal to 68 degrees. This means that the angle A is 68 degrees and 22 is smaller than 68, which means that, yeah, that was the actual answer for this exercise. Hi, it's me again. Yeah, I haven't left the building yet. Let's do this. This is the last exercise of the video. Before we start with the process and everything, we need to read the information for this problem. Find x and the value of the angles if they are supplementary. Right now what we know is that these two angles are supplementary, which means that if I sum this part of this expression with this other one, this needs to be equal to 180, and that's exactly what I'm going to represent right now. Okay guys, now I have an equation. I can work with this. If I find the value of the x and then I substitute that value into these two expressions, I can obtain the value of each one of these angles. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Now let's simplify the similar terms. This term and this term, they both have the x. The power of the x is the same, so I can simplify the coefficients of these two elements. 7/4 of x plus 5/4 of x is the same as 12/4 of x, okay? Now this 10 plus this 20 is equal to 30, right? And on the other side of the equation, I have 180 degrees. I can divide this 12 by this 4, and the result is 3x. I'm going to move this 30 from the left side to the right side, so I'm going to have 180 degrees minus 30, which is the same as 150 degrees. Better. So I'm going to isolate the x by passing this 3. This 3 is multiplying in the left side of the equation. I'm going to pass it to the other side, dividing the 150 degrees. X is equal to 150 over 3. This is the same as 50 degrees. And now we have the value of the x. Moving on, now let's find the value of the angles. For the first one, 7/4 of x plus 10 is equal to, we're going to change the value of the x by the 50 degrees that I just obtained, and we're going to calculate the result of that. That is going to be the value of my first angle. Let's say that that angle is the angle number 1. So then angle number 1 is equal to 7/4 of multiplied by 50 degrees. This doesn't look pretty. 50 degrees plus 10, right? Angle number 1 is equal to 7/4 times 50. So if I solve this, this is going to be equal to 350 fourths plus 10. The angle number 1 is equal to 195 halves. So that's the first value, the value of the first angle. The second angle is, the angle number 2 is equal to 5/4 of x plus 20. I'm going to use the 50, that's the value of the x. 5/4 times 50 degrees is equal to 20. The angle number 2 is equal to 5 times 50, that's 250 fourths. Hi guys, welcome back. And guess what? Last night I had a tiny issue with the battery of my camera, so here we go again. So in the last part of the video, I was calculating the value of the angle number 2. I was multiplying 5/4 by 50, which by the way is the angle of the x that I have right here. So the result of this multiplication is 250 over 4, and I'm going to sum the 20 that I have right here to this value. The result of this operation is equal to 155 over 2 degrees, which is the same as 82.5 degrees. Right now I have the result of the x, the result of the angle number 1, which is, by the way, 97.5 degrees, and the result of the angle number 2, which is 82.5. So to analyze if these results are correct, I just need to check if these two are supplementary angles. You know that these two needs to add up to 180 to fulfill that condition, right? So yep, if I sum 97.5 degrees to 82.5, the result of that operation is 180 degrees, which means that these two answers, including this one, the three answers are correct.
Termina la guachuguachada.